And first and foremost, I'm going to kick off our panel with none other than Dr. Josh Garcia, Superintendent for Tacoma Public Schools. Congratulations again on the appointment. Dr. Garcia, can you tell us what TPS is doing to remove barriers and increase access to post-secondary pathways, and how the community can lean in to support the district's efforts?
Wow, what a great question. TPS is really double downing with the 2030 goal this year and building on the work that we've been doing together with partners for years with the Tacoma College Support Network and a variety of others. So we're going to start with our verified acceptance letter into the next institution. And really, we've taken a Lean Sigma approach and talked about every step it takes to get to that letter. And then we're working with the Tacoma College Support Network to say which parts can the community do, which part can the school district do with fidelity to ensure that every child has access to that. It could be a mentor, it could be an SAT day, it could be a PSAT, it could be taking a college level class, it can be industrial certification. And so really making sure that we have a connected work plan with our community partners, working all the way from that graduation moment. Sometimes that takes a 5th year or a 6th year or a 7th year, or just 4 years. And then all the way back into how do we start to teach kids about what it means for different careers. So through our college-bound efforts, through our curriculum, through AVID, a number of support programs. The second pillar that we're really talking about and doing deep work in is around giving students access to relevant curriculum through industrial certifications. Our partnership with the mayor and the city of Tacoma to ensure that kids have real life experiences that lead to true industrial certifications that demonstrate that they're career ready is a fundamental piece. That's also really working with giving students agencies by giving them paid job experiences, internships, partnerships with degrees of change to ensure that there's mentorships to pre-internships, to internships, to college level internships, and then also working to design things like pre-apprenticeship programs for the career pathways with our new plumbing program, working with partners like Workforce Central and others in there. And then the last piece that I would just say is we're really double downing with our academic acceleration. We're rolling out a new regulation to ensure that academic acceleration is done with a level of fidelity for our students and families. And that's the ultimate parent engagement, because that parent says, you know what? No one can take my child out of this class except for me. And if I want my child to take college level classes, I'm going to ensure that. And the school district has a responsibility to do that. And then making sure that there's the professional development supports for each of our staff members to help our students be successful. So those are some of the highlights that we're working on.
Wow, lovely. Thank you, Dr. Garcia. Appreciate that. Our next question is for Dr. Sheila Edwards-Lang, the new chancellor for UW Tacoma. Congratulations to you as well on the appointment. Dr. Lang, can you please tell us how you will use your previous experience to help graduate Tacoma's shared commitment to bridge educational systems in service of young people?
Great, thank you for that. I'm so happy to be here as the newest partner to the work that you all are doing. I come to this from Seattle Central College and before that University of Washington on the Seattle campus. But in both of those roles, I was part of the Puget Sound College and Career Network. So that was all of the K-12 districts working with all of the higher ed institutions and community-based organizations to improve outcomes with a racial equity focus on that work. And so I'm excited to bring that lens to the work here in Tacoma, to bring the experience that I have partnering to advance outcomes for kids in our community. And then to be doing that at the University of Washington, Tacoma, which has always been a partner in furthering the economic and educational outcomes for families in Tacoma. And so we can convene, we can host, we can connect. So we can convene thought partners around issues as they come up. We can host events. One of the things that we did with the Puget Sound Network was we hosted financial aid FAFSA nights on our campus. And we had our financial aid staff volunteer to work with families to make sure that kids were doing what they needed. We hosted tours, and I know that UW Tacoma has done the same with the bus tour, getting young people out to see what kinds of careers are possible and what kind of pathways are possible by getting them onto our college campuses. And then connecting for volunteers, connecting for research explorations, if that's applicable. I know that we have a partnership right now with Tacoma Public Schools looking at outcomes for students and doing that kind of research in partnership with our faculty. So I'm looking forward to continuing that work.
Wow, thank you. I look forward to seeing where UWT heads under your leadership. Yeah. So I want to take a moment to speak briefly about Palmer Scholars, the organization that I have the pleasure of serving as the executive director for. At Palmer Scholars, we do not believe that a four-year degree is the only avenue to a successful life. We expose our scholars to all educational and career pathways and give them the tools that they need to choose a post-secondary program that best fits their strengths and interests, whether that's a 2 or 4 year degree, certification program, or apprenticeship. We believe that the young adults we serve possess the inherent strengths and abilities to succeed in their chosen pathway, and that the only things that they're lacking are exposure, access, opportunity, and support. We also believe that young adults will achieve the greatest satisfaction in their careers and in life in general if they choose the best fit path for them. Historically, the vast majority of our young people have been the first in their family to pursue post-secondary education, and many have been the first in their family to graduate from high school. We recognize that many of our scholars are also first-generation professionals who lack exposure to information about the trades and other underemphasized career pathways, and more importantly, the knowledge of how to pursue them. So we actually have 2 entry points for young adults in our program: the Legacy program, which serves high school juniors, and our Palmer Pathways program, which targets young adults that have either graduated high school or have earned their GED, but have yet to identify their long-term educational and professional goals. So our holistic programs, they go beyond what you would generally see in a college access program or in a workforce development program, really providing wraparound holistic services to our young people. But I want to talk a little bit more about Palmer Pathways in particular, our newest and most innovative, I would say, program. Palmer Pathways is a state-recognized pre-apprenticeship program that serves young adults of color between 18 and 26 from Pierce County who are interested in pursuing a career in the trades or other underemphasized or under-accessed career pathways, but lack the foundational knowledge to really get there. Ordinarily, you see pre-apprenticeship programs that are exclusive to one particular craft, such as an 8-week carpentry skills pre-apprenticeship program or boot camp. We intentionally designed Palmer Pathways to be a little bit different, to expose scholars to a variety of opportunities. And at the end of the day, if a scholar decides that they don't want to pursue a career in the trades, that's fine. We'll help them get connected with the post-secondary program that best aligns with their skills and their interests. But for those who do complete the full 14-week Palmer Pathways pre-apprenticeship, they'll earn 6 industry-recognized credentials that will immediately open them up to a myriad of career opportunities. And they'll also have their choice of entering into one of 15 registered apprenticeship programs that we currently partner with, 12 of whom are offering direct entry. And so they'll have the opportunity to, after a 14-week pre-apprenticeship program, begin earning upwards of $23 an hour. So we're really excited about that particular program. I get really excited about the work of Palmer Pathways, and so I could go on, but I'm going to go ahead and segue into our next question. And that is for Dr. Ivan Harrell, President for Tacoma Community College. Dr. Harrell, the data tells us that TPS graduates are going to TCC in larger numbers than any other institution, and TCC has managed to establish innovative practices and programs to support students through various pathways. How can we continue to propel innovation and align resources to expand existing support systems at TCC?
Yeah, thank you for that question. A couple of things come to mind. One is for us to continue to remind ourselves that these students are our students. These are Tacoma students. And sometimes we want to emphasize that they may be attached to one institution or currently in high school or not engaged in any post-secondary opportunities, but to remind us again, these are all of our students. And so how do we need to, how can we better and more intentionally create strong alignment within all of our partners? You know, I think about a student who is graduating from Stadium High School, who has an IEP or who has free or reduced lunch. And they graduate from high school and arrive to us a couple of months later, and they're supposed to be these fully formed adults. Well, what if we had a way to transfer that information from TPS to TCC, then to UWT, et cetera, so that those students were able to capture what their needs are and to be able to be proactive in providing those services. Something else I think is very critical for us is to really keep an equity-centered approach to the work that we're doing. One size does not fit all. TCC, the Communities College, is an amazing institution. But students have so many options here in our community. We have UW-T, we have POU, we have UPS, we have Evergreen, and we also have many work opportunities that I know Katie will be speaking about here in a moment. So how do we create these systems and structures that really speak to the individual needs of every single one of our students? And as Dr. Edward Lang says, I think we have to be even more intentional of really focusing in from a racial equity perspective. Again, this is a community of learners. We have to do all that we can to support every single one of them. And if we think about how this community came together to work through Graduate Tacoma to significantly increase the graduation rate, we know how to do this work. So how do we then come together and partner in in either stronger ways? How do we then share resources so that we aren't duplicating some of the things that we know we need to do to support students? So again, I look forward to how all of us can come together and strengthen the amazing partnerships that we have. Think about other ways that we can expand so that we can make sure that every single child, every single student, every single community member here in the city of Tacoma has the post-secondary access that they know that they need.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Harrell. Next, Ms. Katie Condon, CEO of Pierce County Workforce Central. It's a pleasure to finally meet you in person. So, we can define what we think is necessary to prepare youth for the workforce, but it really will take a shift in culture and practice in the workforce for the 2030 goal to be realized in its entirety. My question for you is, what role does Workforce Central play in creating and implementing these shifts? And further, how can we be supportive of each other to accomplish this?
Great question. It's fantastic to be a part of this panel. We think of workforce development at Workforce Central as somewhat of a three-legged stool. So we have our job seekers, and in the case of this work, young people is really the focus. But we also have businesses, the employers in the region, and then we have the systems that some of us are a part of that also impact policy and some of the work that we can do together. And so when we think about job seekers and young people specifically, exposure is so much of the theme of what we've been hearing today. And at Workforce Central, and I know at TPS and our local colleges, that meaningful paid work experience is key. And we often say it's just as important for a young person to figure out what they don't want to do as it is for them to figure out what they want to do. And that's how that happens, is through that meaningful work experience in so many ways. So that's a big piece of it for us. But we're also working really closely with employers who, as we all know right now, are struggling to find workforce and are asking really important questions about what they can be doing and shifting and changing to bring in more workers across industries, frankly. And we're seeing employers think differently and innovatively about hiring practices. No longer does it work to have an entry-level position that requires 5 years of experience and a college degree, for example. We're seeing employers think differently about their culture and whether or not at every level of the organization, Pierce County is represented in lived experience, in identity, and shifting policies and practices to make things like equal pay, promotion, and equity really meaningful and measurable in their businesses. And that matters. People are looking for more than a paycheck. They're looking for belonging. They need to be taken care of by their employer, and this is how we're going to get there. And then at the systems level, I think I would just echo and amplify what I've heard from my colleagues here, and that is alignment is really critical. I often say, and have heard in many places, we're pretty programs rich and systems poor. We have incredible organizations, internship programs, work experience opportunities in Pierce County. And I think what we're excited about at Workforce Central is aligning with TCC, UW-Tacoma, TPS to say, where is there duplication and where are there gaps? And that is the core of the power of Graduate Tacoma, and the Foundation for Tacoma Students is asking that questions and assessing this at a systems level. So we're grateful to be a part of that.
Absolutely. Thank you for that very thoughtful response. I completely agree. So my last question, and certainly not least, is for the one and only Victoria Woodards, Mayor of Tacoma, the City of Destiny. From your perspective, what does achieving our 2030 goal to create the leaders of tomorrow mean for Tacoma generationally? And how does this work benefit our community as a whole?
So let me first say how excited I am to be sitting in this leadership panel. This is how it's going to get done. The city has a definite role in this, but this is why we're called the City of Destiny, because right here in this conversation and achieving this goal will allow every student in this community to uniquely achieve their destiny. And so it's exciting for me. The other thing that's exciting is when you've heard a lot, collaborations, partnerships. None of us individually, as Katie just pointed out, no organization individually can accomplish this goal. It's gonna take these partnerships and our ability to sit down together and do exactly what Katie suggested, and that is to get out of our individual programs, but to look at how we connect. Because let's be clear, our students don't care. Parents don't care about your program or your program. They care about how are we holistically addressing the needs of our students. And that's why this goal is so important. And I am so proud of Graduate Tacoma in bringing, in linking all of these incredible nodes that are out there doing the work, but linking us together. So I'm incredibly excited about this work. I think when I'm done being mayor, I think the name that's going to come next, one of the words that will come next to my name is either collaboration or partnership. So this speaks to everything that this city stands for. And I think, Josh said it earlier, truly, we are stronger together and we can make a difference. And not only can we, but we have an obligation not to just point our fingers at where we're failing, but to point out the differences and then step in and make a difference. Our future depends on it. The success of this city depends on it. And when we talk about being an anti-racist city, a city where equity is key, it's this kind of goal, focusing on students who need it the most, that's going to help us achieve that and really live out the creed that we are the city of destiny.
Absolutely. I can't think of a better way to finish off this panel. Thank you so very much for that very thoughtful response. I'm just appreciative to be able to hold space with this wonderful group of leaders. I really appreciate Graduate Tacoma, the Foundation for Tacoma Students, for bringing this together. And just thank you. Thank you all very much. Wish we had more time together.